Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's Modern Investing on Pod TV. My name is Sasha Starr, and our guest today is Jim Eat from Eat Foundation. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Thank you for having me, Sasha. I'm at my wonderful neighbor's house today, so my background's a little different.
Yes, yes, I noticed that. However, the market is still pretty good today. Although in the morning it was a little bit on the red side, most of it, but now it's in its Wednesday scenario, so called. So today's market is doing quite well. And what I've noticed that a lot of commentators are predicting 2026 be very challenging year. It will be very um, ups and down market. Uh, some are thinking about all kind of mm, recession, de- not depression, but some kind of scenarios of all kinds of problems and recession problem and correction problem, and just name it any way you want it. Nobody can say exactly when it's going to happen and what's the cataclysm of that. What's important is that I've heard very insightful analysis of one of the um, well-known billionaire investors who suggests that at this point only three type of investments are making any sense to him. And he specifies, of course, it's an area of, he doesn't name any specific stocks, but what he mentioned is definitely artificial intelligence and that pretty large group with almost any stock has its merits. Some of them are riskier than others. And he suggests that up to 50%, depending on your tolerance and level and what your age and group and so on. So 50% or so could be invested in the artificial intelligence. It's very difficult to to argue with that. Yeah, because in that stocks you can find appropriate companies or ETFs or just anything of its kind to be in that group. Now, second group, he believes it's gold, silver areas, where it could be invested as much as up to 30%. Because this is not only that US will print more money, but almost all governments around the world will print more and more money, and some of them to defend, some of them to attack, and it depends on where you are and what you believe, but everyone will be printing money. So what that does to gold and silver, they will shoot up as they did before, and they will continue to do so. And finally, say around 20%, he believes it should be in a cash or cash equivalent position, like T-bills, which paying 4.5, even 5%. And it's not a matter of 4.5 or 5% interest that they pay. It's something mm, to keep your available cash to deploy if the market will substantially will go lower in case of correction or some other events. So to have that, I must admit that I don't have that, but I have an instrument such as the high yield dividends, like stocks like NVDY, GTXY, which are also, as today's announced dividends are not that great. NVDY only 10.5% or so, and the other one 12.5% or so. But I would explain it that last 2 weeks they were shorter weeks, so it's only 4 working days instead of 5 each of these two. So maybe we will see higher dividends next weekend. From that point on, we'll see. Um, so in this case, actually, my account is almost self-generating as long as I'm not taking money out, which I don't. So it is generating this cash available I can basically take it up to 20% of the account fairly easily. But right now, I don't see anything is on problem. But you know what? Most things happening when nobody sees that. All these black swans and all the other events happening when most people don't see it's coming. What do you think, Jim, about this suggestion?
Yeah, the analyst that you cited, I'm totally in agreement with. One of the things that I did throughout the latter half of 2025 was to increase my cash position, and I'm thinking that at some point by the end of February is my target. That there will be a dip in the market, and will present myself with an opportunity to buy. And I have been targeting the AI infrastructure in general. My stock exposure has been spread around in the AI industry. So I do have a cash position, and I do have at least a 50% allocation into AI. So what I'm thinking now is I'm going to try to put some of that cash into the gold silver, as you mentioned. That seems to be an intelligent decision, and because when the market does get spooked, that tends to be where money goes. And I think there's nothing fundamentally. I mean, the labor report was there are fewer job openings than they expected, and that's kind of depressing. And because it makes you think that the Fed won't cut interest rates, which people have been expecting. And that might shake the market up a little bit. But I think those are just blips on the screen, and not something that's going to affect the overall trajectory of the market. Which and people have been predicting the impending recession for over 5 years now. It hasn't happened yet. I don't see it happening. I do see that the labor market is shrinking. People are seeking jobs. As jobs are not available. And the types of situations here is like what I call the disconnect between Main Street and Wall Street. Wall Street seems to be very happy with this, but Main Street not so much, because people don't have money to spend. That means that businesses are going to suffer. But the mega businesses, the ones that have their hands in AI and energy and whatever, none of them are just one product now. They got their hands in many pots. And so I think that those companies are going to continue to do well. But it doesn't mean that the average investor will do well unless he's targeting those companies that do well. And the idea that the consumer is going to suffer, I think, is almost a guarantee. And when Trump throws a monkey wrench into things like kidnapping the president of Venezuela, it's like how could we have any moral certitude about saying Putin should not have invaded the Ukraine when we turn around and do the same thing? It seems rather than teaching Putin lessons, Trump is learning from Putin. And he thinks that he can seize then the oil that Venezuela has and profit from it. And I think one of his speeches, he mentioned oil 19 times. So if you're thinking that this is to try to stop the flow of drugs into America, I'd say think again. And it's certainly not something that he's trying to do for the Venezuelan people. Trump doesn't care about them any more than he cares about the average consumer in the United States.
Exactly. Exactly. What I was thinking about and I studied quite a bit about Venezuelan oil. It's very low quality oil. It's similar actually to Canadian. It's a heavy oil, but you see, Canada has developed a type of refineries which are quite equipped, especially for this product. So it's going on for some time now, and it's diversifying its deliveries now to China and to Japan and so on, as long as they have necessary refineries to deal with this product. Now, Venezuela, they have no refineries, so they have to, even to get this oil out of the ground, they don't have any equipment, they don't have any technology. So U.S. companies, it's not like in Saudi Arabia that you just touch it and the oil is coming all over the place. It's not. You need to invest 50 to 100 billion dollars in order to develop the infrastructure to start getting oil out of the ground, prepare refineries for this type of oil, and so on. This is a 8 to 10 years project requiring enormous investments. So let's see, even if US companies, Chevron, maybe ExxonMobil, let's see if they invest this type of money. So they have to wait for 8, 10 years. Trump is not going to be even around at that time. So at the best case scenario, they will start to recovering this money. So maybe overall, let's see if you're looking 10 years, maybe 15 years from now, this is very beneficial for ExxonMobil and Chevron and its shareholders. How does it benefit American people, especially if in some scenarios United States will invest its 50 to 100 billion dollars? And why not? If he could give 40 billion dollars to Argentina, so why not to give 50 to 100 billion dollars to Venezuela and then recover it from the oil that it will take so many years? Trump is not going to be around. He has midterm elections coming up. So he needs some very quick action, whether it will be Greenland, maybe Iran, maybe Colombia, maybe some. On domestic front, he has nothing to show to American people, anything meaningful. Whatever he is talking about, 4.3 growth of GDP, it's nonsense. It's all artificial intelligence and all these data centers and all that. Most of the money are there. So it's all Wall Street. The Main Street does not see this 4.3 growth in GDP at all. So how he is coming, because so he needs actions in Greenland. Now Greenland, so he wants to what? He wants to capture Prime Minister of Greenland, who he is, and what's his crime. So he will bring him to New York and put him in next cell to Maduro and his wife. What is the deal there?
Yes, yes.
I can't even imagine anything.
Not only that it would impact Denmark as well, and ruin NATO. These are the consequences that he doesn't seem to either. He doesn't see them or he doesn't care about them. But this is the type of action that he may take at any point in time. We never know what he will do next, and so that leads to lack of confidence, both in what America is representing now to the rest of the world. Yeah, we will come in and take your president because we can, and he's citing the Monroe Doctrine. The Monroe Doctrine was passed in 1823. Many, many things have changed in the world order since 1823. And this is, we have had international standards, and it's clear that Trump is in violation of international law. Just as we took umbrage with Putin invading Ukraine, this is not the type of thing that you can do to a sovereign state. If you had UN behind you, if you had allies behind you, as we've done in the past, this would be one thing. But to do this unilaterally is another, and it's just an abuse of your military might. And what would we say if China takes over Taiwan tomorrow?
Well, actually, I'm wondering because right now U.S. is sending a lot of new war equipment to Iran or around Iran to be deployed in near future, but he doesn't have a fleet available because it's all stuck around Venezuela.
Right.
So if there will be this requirement to do something, and let's see if China will start escalation against Taiwan, where U.S. is going to get all these armies and fighters, planes, and I mean, okay, U.S. is a very powerful country. We all know that. But to conduct so many wars at the same time in Venezuela and Greenland and possibly Taiwan and Middle East and where else are you going to go to? Oh, he forgot about Canada for a while. He's not mentioning that. And Canada,
first state.
by the way, Canada acquired enormous amount of drones from Ukraine together with their operators and sea drones just as well. So America has to mind its fleet if it's going to deploy against Canada. So there could be some unpleasant surprises. Oh, we forgot about Brazil. The Brazil's president just yesterday, I think he said that if Trump would have been in Brazil, he would have been in jail a long time ago. So obviously he's not friendly to United States and to Trump in particular. So he has to do something about Brazil. So how he's going to do it all at the same time?
Well, Trump was convicted of over 30 felonies. In the U.S., the time that I grew up, he would be in jail.
Absolutely. And probably there would be much more indictments against him and law cases and so on. And I don't know if you've seen recent deposition of Special Counsel Smith in a Congress, where he specified very openly about each of his crimes and why he pursued it and so on. So maybe it's not over yet. We don't know about that.
Well, we just saw the anniversary of January 6th.
Yeah, yesterday, yes.
Yeah. And, so I think even the people that participated in that still feel a little bit of a betrayal. They were wonderfully happy about the pardons, but now they've been thinking, what have you done for me lately? And, it was a crime, and, these types of punishments were pardoned away. And so we're getting the government we deserve because we reelected him to office. And it's up to the voters of the United States to say, this is not what America stands for. We don't invade foreign countries. And we used to, but it was covert. We would utilize our power to get resources from foreign countries, but covertly, not overtly, as Trump has done. And covert means that there was plausible denial. Everybody knew the United States was doing it, as Russia was doing it, as China was doing it. But, there was that plausible denial. And there's none now. We're overtly going in and breaking international law. And whether he's going to be held accountable internationally, he doesn't think he will be held accountable. And he's got a lot of reason to think that. Because, as I said, over 30 felonies and no accountability, he thinks he's going to get off scot-free because the president could do whatever he wants. And as Nixon said, if the president does it, it's not a crime. Well, in 1972, the country didn't believe that. It said the president wasn't above the law. And do we still believe that in 2026? Well, voters will have to tell us.
Well, they will definitely speak their minds in a few months during the midterm elections, and that will be quite important time in the United States, because people will definitely have to do something about this present situation where he's not accountable to anybody, to Senate, to Congress, to judiciary, to just anything. He's almost I don't think that even King Charles in England has the same power as
Trump. Not at all. No. This is, like I have always said, Putin is not a communist. Putin is a czar. And that's what Trump wants to be. He wants to be a dictator, an autocrat, and
he's already dictator for many
one. And so, what will the country do? We've survived for 250 years with checks and balances. for a very, very powerful reason, that the temptation to become a dictator, and there's thinking no kings, that he's a monarch. The founding fathers were dead set against monarchy and having one person in control. And in the past, people would say it was the will of God that they were divinely appointed. And maybe Trump thinks he is. I don't know, but I do know that that is not the basis of the American way of life, and it's happening to us today. And what it's going to do to investors is going to be very interesting in 2026, depending on what the midterms say. Because if the midterms go a certain way, Trump would be impeached again, and would he be removed from office?
Well, he said it himself that if he will not win midterm elections, I will be impeached. He
Yes.
said that himself. So
Yes.
that's what he's talking about. Now, interestingly enough,
Impeached is one thing, but convicted is another. Because the Senate has to go
True.
along. You have to win both the House and the Senate,
yeah.
which is harder.
But even if you win Senate and you have majority there, its requirement is 67%.
I agree. And it's a to remove the president from power is a very difficult task.
Yeah, it is. So I would say it's almost impossible task, knowing how the Assembly of Senate works and how they make their decisions and they are talking to each other and so on.
But the big companies will shrug it off. And this is what I think about the market, is why there's this big disconnect.
Yeah, but that these geopolitical risks, what we just discussed earlier, I think they could be force quite negative to the market, because let's see if there is some kind of attempt to get Greenland, which I even don't know how U.S. They just can't go in the middle of the night and just attack Greenland. It's quite very unlikely.
That's part of the Monroe Doctrine. I don't know what the idea is here, but the thing I think is, as you say, would Exxon want to invest that kind of money in Venezuela, knowing that the geopolitical forces could shift on a dime? Things could change overnight for them, and would they invest billions in such an unstable environment? I think if I was on their board, I would advise against it. And I think that the things that Trump thinks are going to happen because of what he has done may very well not happen. But I don't think that it's going to affect the AI sector, for example, except if China does take over Taiwan. Chip manufacturing and chip processing may take a hit, and that would affect these companies that are being in the AI sector and supporting the use of AI applications throughout the industries and throughout healthcare, medicine. What you can just think of something and it will affect it and change our society, unless some geopolitical factors such as the Trump monkey wrench ruins it for everyone.
Well, look, it's one thing that, you send commanders and you got this Maduro and his wife. Okay, that's one thing. And by the way, most of the Venezuelans, including those abroad, they're happy about that because
Sure,
definitely.
he lost the election. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, another thing is what Trump proposes is to run Venezuela and its oil production and everything else. That you cannot send commanders and expect that they will run Venezuela. You have to send methodically troops, equipment, business people who can run this business, and so on. And in this environment, to get goodwill of Venezuelan people would be extremely difficult because they will be definitely mindful of foreign power is using their resources or so on. It's very difficult. So they have to kind of propose a plan that U.S. will invest tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars to invest into oil production and facilities and so on, and Venezuelan people will benefit from it. But then, who is going to invest this money? America? American people will invest this
And
money?
our track record is
No.
disastrous. Look at Afghanistan, look at Iraq. You would have to go back to Japan after World War II for
Yeah.
the US being successful. But that's when we had the world behind us. And
Yeah.
now the world is not behind us. In fact, the world thinks what we're doing is outrageous. And
Now, don't forget about that China so far have invested in Venezuela $50 billion, and Russia has invested $20 billion. So they're now take approach, wait and see. Okay, so you want to do something positive in Venezuela, bring the money. Bring the money. Oh, you don't bring the money, get out of hell out of it. So now it's coming time where you have to, beside talking tough, you have to act. And they will see how America will act. And if they will, and they will invest hundreds of billions of dollars, how, at the end of the day, American taxpayers will benefit from it. Not just shareholders of Chevron and ExxonMobil, but just average American taxpayers. How is it going to benefit from it? So Trump already invested $40 billion into Argentina, okay? So now next is Venezuela in line. Then he's going to invest where? In Greenland and Cuba and
Yeah.
the Ecuador and the Colombia and Brazil possibly.
And we're going to get the money if we needed the money, by printing it, which is inflation rate.
Which is good case for gold and silver.
Yes.
But not very good case for American people, I'll tell you that.
Yes. Your purchasing power will.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's not doing that well now. But we'll see. I think each week, with all the data released, Friday we will have employment data and so on. I don't think it will look pretty. This is why most of the people say that the stock market will be shaky this year. And probably artificial intelligence is probably the best area of the market to be. I don't believe that you will make a lot of money being shareholder of General Motors or Dow Chemicals or all this so-called normal stocks. In artificial intelligence, it's a different story. And a lot of people, one of the primary reasons, and I think Jensen Huang mentioned that NVIDIA has enormous clout in artificial intelligence. It's almost a necessary stock to any infrastructure, to anything that is defines artificial intelligence. NVIDIA is their head and shoulder. Yeah. And that's why I increased now my position in NVIDIA. I see very little downside. Although I sold covered calls too, just in case. If there will be downturn. I sold 190 February 20 calls. So this premiums is very, very good. It's well over $10 for each call, which is $1,000. And it gives you some protection. So there could be market downturn or something. So at least you have this protection.
And this is why you have a cash, because something like I have, if you haven't, to mix metaphors, if you haven't been on the NVIDIA train, you've missed the boat. But if it's not out of the question yet. For example, if the dip that I think is going to happen happens, that's a buying opportunity. And what you need at that point is cash on hand. I bought NVIDIA and I sold it for a profit. And I bought it again after it split, and I sold it for a profit. And now I'm waiting for it to get to a number that I want to buy it again. And so each time I'm making a very comfortable profit because NVIDIA stock has gone down and it's gone back up. But NVIDIA stock will be valued highly because it continues to generate revenues. And as long as it's
and look at the February, they will have their quarterly report.
Mm-hmm.
And so far, everybody is very bullish on their quarterly report. And why not? Because they're still signing. And you know what? I also started to follow. I haven't got any position yet, but there are a few stocks that Nvidia itself invested quite a bit.
Yes.
And some of the stocks went down from where Nvidia got their investments, sometimes 20-30%, and some even more. So I think there could be a time to look jump into these investments, because Nvidia is not making hasty decisions, and
Right.
normally whatever they touch is sooner or later making money.
I
So that's
agree.
something else to look into. Jim, thank you very much for today's program. I wish you good luck in investing, and all our listeners. And let's have next program on Wednesday, same place, same time.
Very good question.
So,
Thanks again.
bye bye.
Bye bye.